Welcome to Her Story, the podcast where we share the real, behind-the-scenes journeys of founders who are shaping our Space Coast and Treasure Coast communities.
This show is about the stories that don't always make it to social media, the turning points, the risks, the lessons learned, and the moments that quietly change everything.
We sit down with founders and small business leaders to talk about where they started, what they've overcome, and what it truly takes to build something meaningful.
Her Story is produced in partnership with weVENTURE Women's Business Center. It elevates small businesses and inspires the next generation of entrepreneurs to pursue their ideas with confidence.
You do not have to build alone. There's an entire community ready to help take your ideas from vision to reality.
Whether you're a business owner or a dreamer in the early stages, or someone who loves supporting small businesses, this show is for you.
This is Her Story. Sarah, welcome to the Her Story podcast. We're so excited to have you here. Can you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am the founder and CEO of Southern Caramel. We're a gourmet caramel manufacturer here in Melbourne. Our shop is located over on Sarno Road. And we mostly focus on manufacturing and distribution from our space, selling online, wholesale distribution, but we do have retail opportunities both through our own website and then to our walk-in retail store as well. So it's a little bit of everything. Caramels only, exclusively, that is what we make, is caramel candy. But we sell it in a couple different ways.
Sounds delicious.
It does sound delicious.
Well, we know that they're delicious because we have them upstairs.
Yes. All right, so we want to dive in and hear more about all the things, starting with what are some of the biggest turning points in your journey?
So I started the business in 2013 to be home with my daughter. At the time, I was pregnant with her and had been working in aerospace, kind of on the project management type side, but wanted to be home with her. So my husband and I had been discussing what are ways that we can make that work, and decided to quit my day job and stay home with her. So that was the origin story. Is a big turning point in my life, because it was very much that
huge
shift from corporate America to, okay, I'm going to be home and be mommy and try to grow a business at the same time. And the rate at which the business grew was a little slower, as motherhood, navigating all of that.
Your life 180. Yeah.
Yes.
How long of a period was that discussion that you and your husband were talking about this plan?
Well, we always knew it was something that we wanted to be able to do if we could. And then as, through the pregnancy and as things were getting very real with like, okay, what does our day-to-day look like? And can we swing this financially? We were talking all through the pregnancy. And then I had been making the caramels as gifts for coworkers and family and friends. And they had encouraged me, you have a business here. You should sell these caramels. And at the time they had told me that a couple years prior, I was like, company matching 401k, all the benefits, steady paycheck. No, thank you.
I do this for funsies.
Exactly. But priority shift, to wanting to be home with her when she was born. So I created the business in 2013 when I was pregnant with her. And just kind of had that on ice as something that I knew that I might want to go into. And I actually did go back to work after she was born for a few weeks. But knowing, we're still at home discussing how are we going to make this work. And my husband actually did a transition at the same time to change his working to working at home. So we've just turned everything upside down all at once. And that's how I got started.
Wow. Okay. So why caramel? That was a family recipe, or
you've
just
always
something
been a home baker?
I have always loved to cook and bake. My coworkers used to call me Betty Crocker because if it was somebody's birthday or
you
some
were
celebration.
that great person to know.
Yeah,
Yes, I was
coworker.
the cupcakes and all of that. So I really focused more on baking.
Yeah.
And the caramels were something that I had played around with, and I had brought them in for family and for coworkers. And the reason why I went with caramels, just kind of spitballing different things I could do from home that wouldn't take too much extra time. I felt like caramels weren't being done at all. It was like, okay, there's some fantastic bakeries out there, and many of us can bake or make cookies. But I felt like that market was, covered. And caramels, I felt like our recipe was very unique and different.
To this day, I don't think we see them around that much.
You don't that much. As I've gotten into the industry, we are not the only one doing it. I felt like I was a lone island back in the day.
I've discovered this thing, guys.
Yes. You feel like you're the only one. So at the time, nobody was doing it. And there are a few other people doing it now. But that was why caramels. I felt like it was a market that was untapped. I had a great recipe. It wasn't a family recipe, actually. It was just something I had found online and had kind of noodled with that a little bit. But that was
made
why
it your own.
Exactly. Yeah.
What was your very first recipe like? Do you remember?
Nailed it the first time, messed it up many times following. And definitely tweaked the recipe over the years. So I actually have, to this day, I still have it. It's a composition notebook, and it's kind of like my mad scientist book that just has pencils, scribblings and tweaking of the recipe. And when I take it off at this temperature, it does this. It's this color. It feels this way.
That's gold right there.
Yeah.
So you kind of took your aerospace mind and applied it.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah, because it seemed like it's such an exact science. Like
it is an exact
problem solution.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so you decided to do this to be home with your daughter, and it was kind of slow in the beginning. Tell us about the next big turning point in your business.
Sure. So I had started making it in the home kitchen during nap time and all of that to be home with Olivia. And that's my daughter's name.
Such a pretty name.
Thank you. And I like to say as she grew, the business grew. So the next transition would have been a kitchen sharing situation. And there's a woman in town who opened up her bakery to me in downtown Melbourne, extremely generous, and let me use her space when she was closed on Sundays and Mondays. So when I moved into that space, it allowed me to be state inspected. So we did have our own state inspection, and that allowed sales online and wholesale distribution. So we could start selling to local grocery markets.
Sales online, did you start a Shopify site or something like that?
So that came later.
Okay.
We did have a website built later. But at first it was farmers markets through Facebook, things like that. So it was very organic.
Yeah.
I met people in the Publix parking lot to hand off the goods.
I love that.
Very cloak and dagger, But yeah, from when I moved to the place downtown, and we had the inspection, we were able to start selling to places like Petty's Meat Market and
cool.
Downtown Produce when they were here. So it really opened the door to what we were able to do. So we did that for a few years. And in 2018, it was actually Mother's Day weekend of 2018, my dad was in between jobs, and I had said, why don't you come and help me grow Southern Caramel? And he said yes. So that was another turning point. It's home kitchen, kitchen sharing. And then when my dad joined me in 2018.
Family business now.
Yes. Yeah, we moved into our own space.
Yeah. So tell us about that journey, getting to work with your dad. And you said the business grew as your daughter grew. So your vision for the business, did it just continue to evolve, or did you have this big vision in the very beginning?
No, I did not have a a long-term vision for where it, if I knew where it is now back then, I don't know that I would have really believed that it could have gotten here. It originally was a way to just be at home with my daughter and have a side hustle and kind of supplement our income a little bit, and kind of had this grassroots feel. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I love the cooking and baking. I love people. We have an awesome customer base, and I really loved sharing that with our customers. But I did not have the long-term vision. And I don't know what my end game would have been. I think at that point it was like, well, once my daughter starts school, you know, maybe I could go get another job or continue to do this. But
maybe that makes it a little easier to jump into something like this, because you're not like thinking on such a grand scale. It's just, let's see if I can do it.
Right. Yes. And we were organically growing, you know, and we were growing that customer base and some of our local specialty shops. And because we could sell to those stores, that was growing. And so there was growth. It wasn't like major growth, but you know, my time was split. I was home with my daughter, and that was the priority at that time. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. Because that was important to me, that I was with her during those formative years. And now she's almost 12 years old. She'll be 12 in February.
My God.
Yeah.
So when your dad joined you, what kind of new element did that bring to your business, and what did it look like after that?
So he brought the vision for what it could be. He had a lot of different hats that he had worn over the years and managerial type roles. And he came in and could see what it could be. So at the time, he came in and observed me in this kitchen sharing situation in downtown Melbourne, and just watched me as I was cooking and producing. And I had like one burner and one pot and poured it in one pan. And, you know, like it was just very small scale, you know. And so he came in and said, you know, you've got a fantastic recipe, but we can really scale this. Like I think we can take this and just really launch it to the next level. And he brought in this great like vision and long-term goals, and really believed in something that I don't know that I had told myself could be a reality, but he could see that in the business, the potential for the business. And he saw that in me, that I was capable of taking that to the next level.
Was that your dad's role throughout your life? He was the dreamer?
Yes, he definitely could have that big picture, you know, operations, you know, come in and see the way something is run and see how it could be done better, faster, more effective, more cost effective. I mean, he definitely would look at a problem in that way. And he brought that skill set to the table and really helped launch it into our next stage.
That's so special to work with your dad in that way. So it sounds like you two really got along well then.
Yeah, we really did. And we're in another season of transition. It's a sad and sobering one, but I did lose my dad this year to leukemia. So
so sorry.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cancer sucks.
It really does. You said it perfectly. So it's been a wild ride, you know, from joining forces in 2018, and there's been so much growth since then. But here we are in another period of transition of just, you know, how do I do this without my dad, you know? And he had that vision, and he could see where we were going, and now it feels like we've finally reached that point. Like we are headed there. We're here and beyond. And I feel like he just missed it. Like
he's still watching all of
I
it.
know.
Yeah,
He really is. But yeah, it's another period of transition of just like, what now? What do I do without my business partner? But my mom has stepped in this year. So yeah, it's been an interesting year.
So many things.
Yeah, she's in a different stage of life, you know, and it was very much something that my dad and I did together. So with missing him and with missing his leadership, you know, what would be that next stage as a family. And so my mom is now co-owns the business with me. Again, talk about transition. It has been a year of transition and intense loss and grief and growth. And it's been weird, really weird mix. But Mom and I are figuring that out together now, and what her role in all of this is. And we still get to do it together as a family, which is really important.
Has it strengthened your relationship with Mom the way it did with your dad?
Yes, it's been awesome. And my mom and I, there's like two sides of our life, right? Like we've got this loss and navigating the grief as a mother and a daughter.
Yeah.
And then we've got this business that we now own together, and she's coming on board and learning it. So we walk the causeway two mornings a week.
Wow.
She's still got her day job. So she's not
really? Oh,
yes,
wow. Okay.
Yes. So she's not full time at Southern Carmel yet on the day-to-day operations. But that gives us the time to, like, we just talk business. We talk what we're feeling, it's this process. There's so many things involved.
That's the thing. It's like this whole entrepreneurial journey, it's just such a mixed bag. It's not this steady uptick of growth. It's just all these different elements that can get thrown in that you have no control over, and you just have to work with it and pivot.
With the entrepreneurial journey, I think what people miss sometimes is how personal it is and the reasons why you go into something. And for us, that whole family vein has been so important, from quitting my day job to be home with Olivia and just really pour into her and be with her and make those sacrifices for our family. Yeah. And that was the start of it. And then, to be able to grow this with my dad and the bond there. I mean, you can kind of see a shift in the roles from me pouring into my daughter as the parent. And then now I've got my parent pouring into me as the business owner. And it's deeply personal, for us, this vein of family through our business is the why. We get to do it together. It allowed me to be home with my daughter, and it allowed me to grow this with my dad at what I did not realize would be the final years of his life. So it's a gift.
At Valley Bank, there isn't a how we haven't heard.
How?
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 How do we pay for these?
How do I pass down what I built?
How do we grow with someone who gets it? How do I go from here to there?
How do we afford a bigger place?
How do I make this work?
Listening is how.
Understanding is how.
Caring is how.
Valley Bank, that's how.
One of the things I love about your business and your brand is you just spoke about such deep family values and honoring that so deeply. Tell us how that shows up through your business and how you get to share that through caramels.
Yes, it's such a fun business because it's candy, right? Like it's when people walk in our door or we meet them at events, and of course we've got samples everywhere we go. There's just so much joy, it's this little like bite-size, just happiness. Yeah, exactly. So people come to us with a smile on their face, or if they don't, they're definitely going to leave with a smile on their face. So it's such a fun business, the people that come to us. And so much of our business is gift related, and we get to be a part of all those different moments in people's lives, whether it's wedding favors or baby shower favors that people are purchasing the caramels for, or they're taking it to a birthday celebration or just a thinking of you. It's fun to see all the different gift messages that come across over the years for the reason people are shipping our caramels. And it's just a small way that we get to be a part of people's lives. But it's so core to who we are that like people are coming to us and trusting us with a thoughtful token and a thoughtful gift. And we really try to work that into the culture of our business, just in giving back to our community and our our employees and who we are, you know, people come to us because they want to give. And that business, that the growth in our business has allowed us to give back to the community around us. And
in what ways are you involved in nonprofits?
Yes. So we are committed to giving 10% of our sales back to different community organizations.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It's
And you're from here, right?
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Which area?
Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah. So living in Melbourne. Now the business is in Melbourne. I live in West Melbourne, Palm Bay area. My mom is in Melbourne. So yeah, we've been here a while.
I love that. And it's so much more personal to gift something that comes from, you know, it's local.
Yes.
I remember Sarah Wen.
It's pretty crazy. Some people that walk through our doors that I'm like, did we go to elementary school together? And, you know, you'll see someone's credit card and you're like, I know that name from third grade. So a lot of people have stayed.
So as you've grown your business and you built it for your own flexibility, and how has that impacted you and how you've developed it for your employees and the way that you run that?
Yes, great question. And we really try to keep the culture tried and true to what we originally launched with. So the whole reason for starting your own business is to have that flexibility. And at the time, to be home with my daughter and to be able to be with her. And of course, as she's grown, the business has grown and my time at the office has grown with it. But I really try in my own life and in the lives of our employees to keep that vibe, if you will, or just culture of family and friends, and our commitments in life are bigger than the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, you know? So trying to stay true to honoring that flexibility that, you know, I have the best team. Like they really, they work hard. They are hard workers. But when stuff comes up at school and there's different, you know, award ceremonies or music programs or someone's son is in town, like we want them to be able to have that time with their family and we talk and communicate and
that's amazing.
So
we don't want to miss those moments.
Really amazing.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, everything about your brand and who you are, it's expressed in all these different ways. And that's really special. It really is.
Oh, thank you. It's a sweet business. Pun intended.
It is sweet. Okay, so I'd love to know, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced and what were some of the biggest lessons that came out of it? Something that you would want other founders to know.
Okay. So one of our biggest challenges was the early days, and it had to do with shelf life and formula for the recipe. I started selling to some gift shops and specialty gourmet stores throughout the community.
Nice.
And yeah, it was
exciting.
awesome.
Yeah,
Right? You're going from like
huge.
this home kitchen to just selling to people that you know.
Someone else believes in you.
Yes.
so
and you're going to be on store
shops.
shelves.
Yeah.
Really
Yes.
big deal.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was.
I feel a really big butt coming.
Yeah, that's exactly what's coming. Yeah, it was so exciting. And then I got a call from one of our retailers, and he said, I need you to come and buy all of your product back. Because when we bite into your caramels, it's like they crumble apart in our mouth. Like it's not like a smooth, creamy caramel. It's just like crumbling apart. And I was like,
so there's no discussion. No, he just said, I need you to pull your stuff off my shelf.
yes. Yeah. I need you to pull your items off of my shelf, and you need to pay for it also. And I was like, I don't know what is even happening here. Well, what was happening was it was being sold in a high humidity. This, shop was on the beach. So lots of moisture in the air over on the beach.
There's that humidity factor
again. Totally changed our caramel to where it like we had a 6-week shelf life at that point. So in the early days, it was 6 weeks, which was kind of a miracle that any store would even sell it for 6 weeks, because that's like
Not a lot of time.
Shelf life
for a shelf stable
challenging,
item. That's really not that stable. But yeah, they took a chance, and it didn't even make it to 6 weeks. I mean, I don't know. It was like 2 weeks. I don't remember.
So what was that feeling? How were you processing that?
Yeah, it was
like,
so bad.
No.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
a
like,
gut punch.
yes, it was really, really, really bad. And I was just like, what do I do? Epic fail, right? Like just so embarrassing, you know, like to just have this locally gourmet handmade product, and you're, you know, putting all of those buzzwords out there, and someone's like, it's literally turned to powder in my mouth.
God, I just have a vision of you in that shop pulling the products. Like, that's so awful.
Yes, it was just as bad as you're imagining. Yeah. So the lesson in all of this, if I'm kind of just jumping to that point, is sometimes your absolute worst failures, in this case, felt like I don't have a product anymore, right? Like I don't have something that I can sell on shelves.
Like this might be the end.
Yes. Yeah. I'll just go back to selling it to like my friend down the street and say, hey, hope you eat it in 2 weeks. You know? But what felt like the worst fail ever ended up being a major win for us and set us apart in the industry, because I changed our ingredient list. The lesson learned would be sometimes your worst failures, if you can just step back from them and shift your perspective a little bit and kind of go into that problem solving mode.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as bad as you think it is. And in this case, really helped to set our product apart.
Amazing.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about that detail, because that detail that actually took it to the next level is a really big deal and a very special part about your caramels.
Yes, absolutely. So the main difference is that we do not use corn syrup in our caramels anymore. So our original recipe and formula was sugar and corn syrup and cream and butter. So when I started playing around with the recipe to see why was it turning back to a granulated, you know, sugar, and how could I avoid this, and just, you know, lots of Google research, really. I totally nixed the corn syrup. And so we are very unique in the market that many caramels, if you flip the bag over, the number one ingredient is corn syrup, even before sugar, like it's corn syrup. So ours, we use pure cane sugar. We make our own, it's an invert sugar, but it's a house-made invert sugar that acts like the corn syrup does on a chemical level, and then cream and butter.
That's amazing.
That sounds so cool that you make your own ingredient.
Yes, we do. We literally make what the rest of the industry uses corn syrup for. We make that in-house, and out of just sugar.
Maybe you shouldn't have shared that. I don't know who's listening, but
right. It is actually very hard to make. And that was another formula, recipe development, all of it. Yeah.
And how long does it last now due to that change?
Well, so now we have a 6-month shelf life, but
that's amazing.
It really is.
It's different.
But even that was a process and a transition, because we had 4 months. So once we tweaked the formula and the recipe, it was now a 4-month shelf life. So for several years, we had a 4-month shelf life. And then about maybe not quite 2 years ago, although coming up on it, we switched to some pouches for our packaging that didn't allow light in. And then that way we extended our shelf life another 2 months. So for a caramel that does not have any corn syrup in it, we have a 6-month shelf life, which is pretty unique in the gourmet world. And through all of that, we've been able to be a part of some different specialty food organizations. And we actually won an international award for our sea salted caramel.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what started as a failure set us apart in the industry, and that particular product won an award. And we're actually a finalist for that same award for our coffee caramel.
Wow.
Ooh, I can't wait to try that one.
I want to try that one.
It's so good. And all of our recipes, like our coffee caramel is made with real coffee. We do a bourbon caramel that's made with real bourbon. So we really try to keep our ingredient list very natural, short and sweet. And yeah, so that epic failure of just like taking those bags off of the shelf.
So your biggest differentiator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
How did you guys get to that point where you realized the packaging had affected shelf life as well?
A lot of that was just competitive analysis on looking at what other players in the industry were doing and what do consumers want in the way things are packaged. And it kind of started with wanting something that was resealable, you know, because we do sell in a lot of gift shops and airports and things for travelers, hotels, people that are traveling, like something that can be zipped. So it was kind of a whole
evolution
process on what to do packaging wise. But
you named a lot of different retail outlets, so you guys are everywhere now.
We're getting there. It's a process for sure.
Tell us about your latest big transition.
That's a big deal.
Oh yes, we are so excited. So we did launch on Amazon this year.
Woo!
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Huge. Which is where I bought some of yours yesterday.
We did. So we could serve our guests today.
I love it.
I ordered it on Saturday, got it on Sunday. It was next day delivery, and it was so good.
Easy peasy.
That's the reason
the
why,
beauty of
right?
Amazon.
And we love small businesses and we love shopping local, but we all love Amazon as well.
Yeah.
So as a business and thinking into the future, we realized that we needed to have both. You know, our customer base is on Amazon.
Yeah.
So and that was something too that Dad and I had always talked about, you know, in planning for, you know, different goals looking into the future. Amazon was always part of that. So
how
this
cool
year
you get to
was
check that off then.
Yeah.
Nod to Dad.
Yes, absolutely. And it's going really, really well. Like we are
it's gonna be an amazing holiday season.
Yes, this is our first year. Our first season.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're very excited. We're producing more than we ever have.
Wow.
We had to grow our production space. So we just we're almost finished, but we expanded into the unit next to us. So we doubled our square footage.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have more production space. We have more packaging space. And it came just in the nick of time with this launch with Amazon and needing more space to do all of that. So
what's your team size up to now?
we have a team of 8.
Oh,
wow.
This is the biggest the team has been too. Then.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that poses a whole new ball of challenges. Too.
It does. Like I said, this year, you know, it has been a whirlwind of emotions.
I can imagine.
Lots of personal
gosh.
growth and
Yeah.
like as a business owner, like what's being asked of me. And the skill set of, you know, Amazon is great, but learning Amazon learning how to package it, to ship it to Amazon and pricing and, you know, what is the customer looking for with the listings? And it's been a process for sure. And then growing the team and training people and, the build out, you know, I had paint on my leg a minute ago because that's what I was doing this weekend was painting my place. So, the entrepreneurial journey and all that is asked of an entrepreneur is very vast.
Yeah. With life happening all at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I want to talk about the power of support because the truth is we really can't do this alone.
No.
So tell us about a little bit more about your relationship with weVENTURE later on in growing your business and the types of things that they've helped you with.
Yeah. So my relationship with weVENTURE is an interesting one because I actually had the pleasure of meeting them before I launched.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So back when Beth was the director and I was pregnant with Olivia, I brought her my business plan. And at that point, I was still employed. You know, it was like this, maybe I want to do this, but do I have something here? And actually, my dad had helped me with the rubric for the business plan. So he had kind of given me this is what you should think of when you were writing a business plan.
Yeah. Dang, that dad is so helpful.
He really is. Yeah, he knows his stuff. So I wrote the business plan and then I I don't remember where I first heard about weVENTURE, but at some point it was on my radar.
Yeah.
And I had made an appointment and met with Beth and brought in my typed business plan.
Typed on a typewriter?
Not a typewriter.
I don't know. Why am I thinking that?
Well, it's more like, I feel like in a digital age, like usually you will have emailed something to someone ahead of time.
Okay.
But like the first time Beth had ever met me, like was...
I really don't know why I pictured you as a typewriter.
That was awesome.
Version, yes.
I don't know that I could type on a typewriter anymore, but there was a day. Yeah, I had to in elementary school.
At a typewriter.
Yeah.
No, this was done on a computer.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
You had a printer.
We are editing that out.
Right? No, we're not. We're keeping that. That's in.
But yeah, she hadn't had any glance at it before, but I brought it in and handed it to her, and she was just sitting behind her desk reading it for the first time. And I was
That's not intimidating.
It's not at all. And Beth is wonderful, but she's so beautifully tall and sitting there and holding my business plan and reading it. And I'm pregnant.
Yeah,
I'm just sweating.
Vulnerable.
It was very vulnerable. But she was so generous and just, read through it and was like, you have really thought through a lot of, the challenges and the competitive landscape, and you've done your homework, and I say, go for it. Like, I believe you have something here. You're going out very well informed for what this is going to take. And,
so you really did your homework then.
I did. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounded like it was not, this super planned out thing. It was, maybe I should try this. Maybe I'll do it. But you really sat down with that business plan and put a lot into it.
Aerospace operations.
Right? Yeah.
She's got that ops mind. She thought it was a basic plan, but everybody else would be like, it was very detailed.
Right.
Very
I don't
thorough.
know. Yeah. It was very well thought out. And it has definitely changed over the years. But yeah, from that my first interaction with weVENTURE, Beth just said, go for it.
That must have felt really good.
It did.
To get that validation that, okay.
It really did. It really did. And that was 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, the last 12 years have still been slower than I would have ever expected. As amazing as they have been, I think mentally for the amount of work that has been put in, I thought we would have been a little further along than we are, which
really,
yes.
I feel like that is such an entrepreneurial mindset. It's like we just hold really high standards
we do.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Especially coming from the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're so driven. But then because it's hard to calculate all this other family time.
Yes.
Then really, if you embrace the whole balance of it, like you've been super productive raising a family and growing a business. But if you didn't have to do the other thing, you'd be like 10 years ahead, right?
And it has been slow growth. So I had this business plan and I was like, okay, I might want to do this. And then I'm a first-time mom, and you realize you can't, there are women out there who do seem to juggle all of it. I definitely struggled that first year of motherhood.
I did too.
And the business was not nearly as worked on as I, in my mind, thought it was going to be.
Priorities, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
but Olivia was the priority, and that I have zero regrets there.
Even though you planned it, it was still a conflicting challenge, I'm sure, like to make peace with, okay, this is why I haven't been investing in the business, because this was the plan to be with Olivia.
And I listened to a podcast recently of another mom founder who is a little further along than I am. Her daughters are graduated from college, and her product is actually in like every Publix out there.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said something in the podcast to the effect of the growth was slower, but she got to be there for all of her daughter's moments. Mm-hmm. And it could have been faster, but to sacrifice what? And it so spoke to me that if this takes 50 years, but I am still there in my daughter's life.
And all the family photos.
Is that worth
exactly.
it? Was that worth
and
it?
home in
Yeah.
the evenings, you know, like I'll take slower growth over, you know, all the money in the world if I get to be with my family.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there can sometimes be this weird flex about like how many hours we invest in our business and how much, like how hard we work and we're putting everything into our business. But if we're sacrificing the people that are the most important to us, that's not really a win in my book, you know?
Yeah.
100%.
Well, there's like this very dangerous, I think, definition of success
Yes.
that puts everything at a certain level. But then we have to redefine it for ourselves, right? Especially as entrepreneurs, and say, okay, success means I get to be at my children's events.
Yes.
And I get to wake up with them. I get to put them to bed.
Right.
And I get to go make candies for all the other families.
Yeah.
And I get to do both. Like, that is your new definition of success. And it's like, but society has like ingrained these awful standards that still come. It's like, it's so hard not to judge ourselves and think I could be farther along, or I should be, shoulda, woulda.
Right.
But really, at the end of the day, I think it is important to reflect. And I'm glad you heard that message, and your message can then carry on to other founders and mothers out there. It's like, you know, we can put value and worth in our acts of motherhood and being a wife and enjoying,
because it's
other
just
aspects
as
of life,
important. It's just
not
as
just the
big
work.
of a milestone
Yeah.
as company milestones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your success can look different from my success. Everyone's got different motivators and things that matter at varying levels and
different seasons too.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
it's not a fair comparison. People are at different places and they're driven by different things. Like everybody has such a unique path.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit more about weVENTURE specifically and different programs that you've been involved with.
So I like I said, I started with the business plan early on, and then as the company has grown, I've been able to go through several of the programs with weVENTURE through the Ignite 360. I've actually gone through twice, and both times for like a very specific need within my business.
Ooh, tell us about those different specific needs.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one is related to my financials. So in the early days when it was just sole proprietor, you know, out of my home kitchen, and taxes were being, you know, run through our household, I had everything kind of homegrown on a spreadsheet with
That's us.
Yeah.
Excel's our best friend.
And it works, right? Like if especially if I'm a small team. But it was kind of sales and expenses. And
did you get scolded by weVENTURE?
I did. It worked, right? Like in the early days, it definitely works. And depending on how you operate, it could work for decades, right?
Right.
But the more elements you add to the business and you start adding other people and things like that, Excel spreadsheet isn't quite going to cut it. So my first mentorship I went through with them was related to financials and getting set up on QuickBooks and learning how to use QuickBooks, eventually running payroll through all of that. And even after that particular mentorship, I've also gone through several QuickBooks courses to brush up on my QuickBooks skills.
Yeah.
So a person from weVENTURE sat side by side with you in front of a computer and walked you through it?
Yes.
Oh,
that's
wow.
amazing.
That's so high touch.
Gotta
so
set
customized,
up.
right?
Yes, very customized, and with my financials, you know, of like bringing everything in, and this is how I work, and here's my cost of goods sold and how I operate, and they were like, okay, well, this is how we should set up your accounting structure for how you sell and how you track your expenses.
Yeah.
And, I would not have figured that out on my own.
So helpful.
That is amazing.
Because it's so many hats that we wear, and we're not going to be, 100% skilled in all the areas.
Right.
I mean, we know our craft, But anything beyond that, it's learned.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So what was the other thing that you went back for?
The other time was related to procedures. So again, as a sole proprietor, when you're the one doing it on your own, everything's up here.
Yep.
And as soon as you start bringing in more people, it
You need them to read your mind.
Yes.
They can't.
I know. I'm still working on that, but they're actually getting pretty good. It takes a village. But I went through the program related to processes and like really thinking through what are all of the things that need to be done to run this business. And if somebody else is doing them, how do they do them? How do they log into that platform? Where do
All
they
the
click?
SOPs,
Exactly. And
everything,
writing
yeah.
those SOPs and then giving the team the tools to be able to execute that task without you.
And still meet your standards.
Yes. And truth be told, I probably need to revisit that because we have had a lot of growth and a lot of new people and new processes. And
It's evergreen. It's always
It's
changing.
an evolving thing.
But it's hugely powerful to sit down and see it in writing, your whole process.
Yes.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So valuable because you see all the holes, you see all the duplications.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who would you recommend go see weVENTURE?
I would say anybody that has an idea for a business. And really, even if you don't have an idea yet, but maybe you're asking yourself, I'm ready for a change, but I don't know what comes next. I mean, I came with a business plan, but you might not even be to the business plan part yet. And that's okay. I think weVENTURE would
they
be,
can help do that.
Yes,
they can
an
help with the
amazing
business plan.
resource. But if you're thinking that the corporate world is not, where you want to be
Forever.
I think that they can really help to just take your skill set and ask some really pointed questions. They're great at drawing you out and just asking some really, really fantastic questions. Even this transition that my mom and I had at the beginning of this year, I talked with one of the counselors over at weVENTURE about like, this is where we're at as a family. And I don't know, I even before I talked to my mom, I said, I don't know how to have this conversation with my mom. We just lost my dad. Like, I don't want to be insensitive, but, I have an owner in my company who just died.
Yeah.
So how do I handle that? And how do I handle that with my mother? Like it was very, very
layered.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And I talked with Jeanette and like she was just so gracious while, talking with me in a period of grief, but there's business decisions that need to be made.
Yeah.
And kind of navigating that. And Mom and I had those hard discussions that actually ended up being very easy, but I feel like I was prepared for them. And even talking to some of the ladies at weVENTURE
It's the
about
first time you're having it. So you just don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. That's such great examples of support. And we're so excited for you. Thank you so much for sharing
such a great journey.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is really, it's an honor to have the opportunity to share my story. And it's been a blast. It's been also the hardest thing I've ever done. But I keep coming back for more. So if I can do it, so can you.
There you go.
I love that.
Thank you for listening to Her Story podcast, brought to you by weVENTURE Women's Business Center, a program of the Florida Tech Fisk College of Business, in partnership with our wonderful sponsors. Together, we are building a thriving and diverse small business ecosystem that enriches our entire community. At weVENTURE, we offer free business coaching, low and no-cost business education, mentorship, and leadership development programs to help you confidently launch and grow your business. Visit weventure.fit.edu to schedule your first free coaching session or learn more about our programs and services. No matter where you are on your entrepreneurial journey, you don't have to build alone. weVENTURE WBC would be honored to be a part of your success story.